Okay, welcome everyone. It's so good to see a couple familiar faces and some new faces in the room. Thank y'all for joining us. Happy Friday, ladies. We made it. We made it to a Friday. I don't know what your weekend is looking like, but you made it this far. So, congratulations. I'm Erica Burnett. I'm one of the co conspirators with the Women of Color Collaborative. My other half, Nicole Kemp, is the queen behind the scene, making sure that all the pieces are moving, so she'll be chatting with us via the chat box. And again, I just want to thank you for going with us on this journey. Whether this is your first time joining us this week or you've been here every single day, we really, really appreciate that you have invited us into your space, right? Just like we're creating a space here, the reality is this is a way for us to gather and to build community. And so we appreciate you welcoming us into your living room, into your kitchen, into your bedroom, wherever you are, your backyard, a little bit this week. And we hope that something that was said or done has been helpful to you especially during this time. So, Women of Color Collaborative, we started here in Nashville, Tennessee, a couple years ago with the goal of really curating and creating safe spaces for women of color to work, play, and build together. And so we do that through a number of ways, including some of our programming, which you'll learn a little bit about because that was how we met the very talented presenter tonight. Our flagship program, which allows you to explore yourself, your identity in relation to all the different hats that we wear and ways we maneuver in this community, to very episodic engagement where we just host a watch and wine and watch a movie together and talk about it and have a conversation. And so our goal is to find ways that women of color can collaborate across generations, across professional sectors, and just really grow together. And so one of our strategies during the peculiar times that we're living in was to create an opportunity for people to come together all across the country if they choose and virtually connect around different modalities that have been part of our healing practices. And so we talked about what does self-care look like across various generations. We learned how to feed our chakras. We were able to dance and open up our bodies and our spirits and our energy. And then we learned about the herbs in our own backyard that can be helpful and healing and medicinal to us in so many ways. And so the one piece that was missing from that list for us is sort of where does the creative live, right? Knowing that we are creative beings and some of us shy away from maybe that as an identifier for self. Sometimes I am very hesitant to call myself a creator, but I know that we were all birthed to birth things, right? And that looks very different for everyone. But I think it's time that we reclaim. It's time for me to reclaim, right? Like my connection to being able to create. And so the first person that came to mind, not only because I rock her jewelry, I would say more than 50% of the time I have on something that she's made, but because the way she shows up in the various aspects of her identity with such boldness and freeness, all while being so honest about she is still trying to figure it out herself. It's been such an amazing journey to see and watch, and also then to know that that intentional energy of becoming and evolving lives in the art that she creates, and for us to be able to physically adorn our bodies, adorn ourselves with that type of energy is really powerful to me. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted our sister, Nicole Beach, Nikki, to come and share with us on the Friday of our walk week. She is an artist. She is a friend. She was for a long time my 7 a.m. text buddy, and she did it with a smile and a laugh on her face for whatever reason. I just had something to say to Nikki, and it was always at 7 o'clock, and she would literally just laugh at me and indulge me in whatever this dialogue was that I thought I needed to have with her at 7 o'clock in the morning. And that just speaks volumes to the way she chooses to interact, She is so intentional and thoughtful and considerate. And again, I just know that that is the same type of beauty and love and spirit that lives in her jewelry. So I'm going to stop there. She is absolutely Oshun's daughter, as Jackie just put in the chat box. And that honey, that sweetness, it comes out in all the ways. And the curtness, because if Nikki don't understand something, she real quick to be like, what are you talking about? Like, we'll stop any type of professionalism. You know, I'm trying to be that, you know, she was, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. All right, girl. Well, let me fall back then and get it correct. So I'm going to turn it over to my sister, Nikki.
For selecting me to be a part. I absolutely adore Erica and Nicole. Absolutely love the way that they show up and how they indulge in their work in the community as well. I don't take it lightly that we have crossed paths. I believe everything is in divine order. I truly and honestly believe that even the words that you were just speaking, Erica, were, you know, words that I was kind of just thinking about earlier when I was like, what am I going to say to the people? So just kind of confirmation that, you know, everything is aligned. So glad to be here. I'm basically a creator, love to create. I wanted to think about how creating is healing for me, of course, and share a project that you guys could possibly make if you're interested in learning how to make just basic jewelry. I'm going to show you how to make a wire wrap ring. But first, I just kind of want to touch on creativity. Ever since I was younger, I've always been very creative in ways that weren't necessarily ways that I recognized other people being creative. So I kind of didn't realize that that is also a form of intelligence. As I began to age and just experience life, you know, it was just further revealed to me that, you know, people manifest their gifts and their creativity in different ways, just as Erica said, and we all show up in different ways in the world, and that is our creativity. So just to know that there is healing in creativity, there is genius, there's intellect there, and that creativity is nothing that, you know, it's not a transaction, it's a being. We are creative beings. You're constantly creating, whether you realize you're creating or you're not. It becomes magic when you're intentional with your creation. So just put the word create on some paper because it is very important to me to create. And it's very important that we all know that we are always creating, whether we realize it or not. Something that's always taking place is always happening. And also, like I said, whether you're aware or you're unaware, whether it's conscious or unconscious, you're creating is always happening. So the goal is to make it intentional. That's my goal, is to make it intentional, to translate things that are important to me in my creativity, to translate things that have meaning in my creativity. And there are ways that everyone can do that. So, like I said, things are always happening consciously, unconsciously. And to create is creativity, and that is creation. You are a native to creation. You are not foreign to it. It is innate. It is you. And also, it is a celestial language. It is divine celestial language. To me, it's the language of God. To a man and a woman come together, they create, they make a child. A woman makes a cake, baking. To me, that's just a transmutation of ingredients into another form. That's what, to me, in essence, creation is. And that's why I think it's so important. Everything that you see in the world has been created. So that's why I just really, really like people to know that you are always constantly creating with your thoughts. Those become actions into form. Anything you do, it is a creation. It manifests itself into something. So creation is just vital. It's important. It's life. So the way that I create is by adorning myself in symbolism, and I like to wear it in jewelry. So I create jewelry. I like to create jewelry that means something to me or means something to other people. I've always been into jewelry ever since I've been younger. I used to wear a lot of silver. Always loved silver. Love the way that it popped against my skin. Always kind of love metals, love gold, but I was really just had an affinity for silver. When I started to create jewelry, delve like back into the craft and really got serious about just learning how to make it and creating, I started looking up the meanings of metals and the associations and metaphysical meanings behind them and what they represent in the universe. And, you know, of course, we come from the earth. And we also have minerals that our bodies are made up of. And copper is one of those metals. Iron, zinc, magnesium. These are all things that are in our body that we need to intake daily so we can keep up our metabolic function. So to me, that spoke volumes. And so I basically took to creating with copper because copper is antimicrobial. It has a history of killing germs or, you know, just sanitizing things. Back in the old days, people would use copper mugs to set water in, and that would sanitize the water because, you know, we didn't have the filtration systems that we have nowadays. It's also representative of Venus. All of the metals can be tied back to a planet in astrology. And so copper is related to Venus. I am a Libra. I didn't even know why I was why I was so attracted to copper to begin with. But as I started reading into it, things, you know, just started connecting and making sense. But copper is, like I said, associated with the planet Venus. Libras are ruled by Venus, as so are Taurus is ruled by Venus. And you don't always have to just look at your sun sign either if you're into astrology, or even if you're not. I just think it's just important to, you know, obtain that knowledge of self because it's a blueprint of your soul. So, you know, even if you have a sun in whatever sign, sun in Libra, moon in Libra, rising sign Libra, it's just important to me to look into those things and to know that. But like, as I was saying, copper, like I said, is ruled by Venus. To me, it just represents beauty and has a usefulness to it. As a human, we're supposed to intake 300 milligrams of copper per day to keep our metabolic functions up into par. So to me, it's just representative of, like, you know, how we're just connected back to the earth and everything connects. Everything just goes back to source. So that's why, you know, I chose to create with copper a lot. I also create with aluminum a lot as well. Aluminum is linked to Uranus. So, you know, that's another link astrologically as well. So those are just interesting things, you know, you can look at when you're going to create. If, you know, you want to use a medium of metals, you know, if you want to look into what they might mean to you or what they could mean to you, I always think that would be helpful or important. So this is copper, of course, and this is the symbology, Cu, and it's atomic number 29. It is known to detoxify the body, and it increases your energy. It improves the circulation in the body, circulation of blood in the body as well. Even ancient, you know, Indian practices know that. That's why, like, if you ever go like in a mall, or, you know, how like they have those Indian shops. I don't know the proper name of it. Excuse me. That's just unprofessional. But you know how they'll have like the stands in the middle of the mall. They might sell like those brass and the copper jewelry. That's what those are known for, to reduce inflammation, because it's a conductor of energy and it helps your circulation to get back in tune in your body. So that's what it's known for. As I said, again, it is antimicrobial. A lot of hospitals will like coat doorknobs in copper as well because it does kill germs. They do that as well with silver. If you ever heard of colloidal silver, it is antimicrobial as well, and kills a lot of germs. So like that's an actual liquid that you can take that is supposed to be antimicrobial and kills bacteria. So that's something you can look into as well. That's not related to jewelry, but it is related to metals. So yeah, so copper is a trace element. There are about 13 trace elements in the human body that keep up your metabolic function. So they're absolutely essential. Copper is one of them. So yeah, so that's why I take the copper. That's why I like copper. I love copper. That's why I chose to create things with copper, create jewelry with copper. I love to create bangles. I made all of these bangles myself. Well, I'm sorry, one of them is, don't give me the line, y'all. One of them is from Alex and the Nine. So it's this one that I did not make on my wrist, but all the rest of them I made, and these are all made from aluminum. And so are these earrings. But I did want to just give you all something a project that you can create with today. A process or something that, you could possibly use. And so I decided I was going to try, well, I don't know if you guys, let me see if I can. I'm going to share with you all how to make a wire wrap ring. So I'm going to explain it step by step. And I'm going to go through the elements that you need as well. So first you're going to need a ring mandrel. This is called a ring mandrel. You can get this off of Amazon, or you can get it from Michael's or Hobby Lobby. It's usually like $6 to $10, depending on what kind you get. You can also get it off Etsy. They sell them on Etsy. And basically what it does is it just measures the ring finger, well, the size of your fingers for rings. So you would need a ring mandrel. You would need wire, any wire that you choose. But for beginners, I always suggest starting with the 18 or 20 gauge. Gauge is the thickness of the wire. This is brass wire, and this is a 20 gauge. The higher the number, the smaller the wire. The lower the gauge, the bigger the wire, or the thicker the wire. So you can get wire from Hobby Lobby. You can get it off Amazon too. You just put in brass jewelry wire, or you put in copper jewelry wire. You can order it. You just need to have your gauge. So I always tell people that are starting out, it's easier to work with the gauge that is 18 or 20. Well, I'll just say 20 just to keep it simple. You can also get wire from Hobby Lobby or Michael's. This is antique brass wire. It was about, well, not about, the price is on the front. It's $4.99 from Hobby Lobby. And then this is some wire that I got from Michael's. This is the brand that I like in particular. It's called Artistic Wire. They make really good brass wire. So this is brass wire. And on the front, you can see where it says 20 gauge. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it does say it on the front. It'll label what gauge it is. So I always recommend making rings, wire wrap rings with the 20 gauge. So those are what the wire, this is what the wire looks like. So you need your ring mandrel, you need wire, 20 gauge. You also need pliers. So it's two types of pliers that you need for this project. It's the needle nose pliers, round nose. This is round nose. And then this is needle nose. Needle nose and round nose pliers. Round nose are like for curving jewelry. I use this to secure jewelry. This one more so to secure the jewelry and to cut it. The inside right here, you see that part? This is how you can cut wire. It's a little knife on the inside. So you don't need an actual another set of pliers. Most needle nose pliers have that feature to it to cut the wire. And then these are round nose pliers. So those are the two pliers you need. These are relatively inexpensive. They range anywhere from $4 to $10 as well. I'll order them off of Amazon. You can also get them from Hobby Lobby or Michael's. Right now, I guess you can't because we social distancing, but when things open up back again, you know where you can go. Yes, and a tape measure. You need a tape measure. All of these items you can really get from Amazon. I don't know how they're going to, deem them important to deliver or how long you'll be waiting on them, but at least you can put them in a cart and purchase them and know that they're coming to you. So this is just a tape measure. This was like $1 on Amazon. And this is what I use to measure the wire. So that's supplies that you need. Oh, and then a bead. So you can get beads from anywhere. You can get beads off of beadalon.com. You can get them off beadchest.com. Or you can get them off Amazon. When things were open, I like to go to Michael's or Hobby Lobby because they always have like 50% off of red, green, or blue beads at Michael's. That's usually always a sale that they have going on. And when I say red, green, or blue, I'm not talking about the actual color. I'm sorry. That's like they categorize them in the little label of the beads. Strings will either be like blue, red, brown, green. And so you can know which ones are on sale by looking at that. Another thing I like to do is incorporate gemstones or stones or semi-precious stones or precious stones into jewelry as well, because they carry a certain energy too, depending on what stone you want to utilize. Some of my favorite ones that I like to use are carnelian. That's carnelian. It's usually like red or orangish in color. Kind of might look brown when you first look at it. But it's basically helps you get active and helps you focus. It dispels apathy, and it's for your sacral chakra as well. It increases your ability to concentrate and helps like get rid of anxiety. So I call it a focus bead, honestly. Like when I need to get things done, this is my go-to. When I need to focus, when I need to concentrate, that's my go-to. Another one of my favorites is Amazonite. That's this bead right here. And this is for like expressing your true self. Of course, authenticity has become popular within the recent years. I feel like it's really God, source, spirit, whatever you want to refer, whatever terminology you use, letting us know that, you know, it's okay to be you, your true self. It's okay to be authentic. And I believe that's why that's been a universal message for about 2 or 3 years now. So that's what Ammonite does. It helps you to let go of the societal fears of colonialism. It just helps you to get back to your true self and helps you with your throat chakra to speak your truth. Then my absolute favorite is moonstone. So this is moonstone. I just like the way it's like opal-esque kind of looking. It's so pretty. It's ruled by the moon. I'm very masculine by nature. So I always need something to balance me out to get that femininity back. So this is why I turn to moonstone, because it helps to balance your emotion and gives you a touch of femininity, or you reclaim your femininity for men, it helps them to balance their emotions or emotionality. It's also known as like an erotic bead. It's related to fertility as well. So you can always like Google all of these things and see, you know, more information. Different sites say different things. What I like to do is just look at different sites, read up on different literature, different books, and then I kind of just deduct what it makes sense for me, you know, using all that information. And, you know, as you get more into it, it'll just be revealed to you what that means for you as well, because it might mean something different. So, yeah, so those are the 3 of like my favorite beads to use. And I'm going to use the Ammonite today to make this project. Now you always want to go with these type of wire wrap rings, just like for the sake of being easy and simplistic, because it's a beginner's project. So I always want to go with like a round type of bead. If it's oval or, you know, irregular in shape, it's going to be hard to wrap the wire around it. So if you're a beginner, you want to stick with shapes like this. So what you start out doing, first you cut your wire. Now I did like they do on the cooking shows. You know how they always measure the spice out beforehand. So I already cut this wire beforehand. And I measured it. I always say like 40 inches to give you some working room. Measured it with the measuring tape. And then I cut it using my needle nose pliers, and I insert the wire right there, and then I closed it and back cut it off. So I have my 40 inches of brass wire, and I have my ring mandrel. Now you do want to measure your ring size. So the way that I do this is I just kind of like line up whatever frame I want to make the ring for, and see like, you know, where does it become one or merge. And so at the bottom, that will be down here somewhere. So I think I'm like a size 11 ring, well, 10. But I'm always go down a little bit more when I go to make the ring, because when you're working with wire, it does have a tendency to shrink the more you bend it, and it does get harder when you bend it. So you always want to give yourself some working room. So it said 10, but I'm just going to go down to like 10 and a half, and I'm going to use that as my size. So that's how you would find out what size ring you need to make, and that's the line that you would use to start your creation. So like right there. So for these wire wrap rings, you want to select your bead. I'm going to use the ammonite, and you go ahead and, now these already have holes in them. You see that hole right there. Also be mindful of your wire fitting in the hole. Like if I had a smaller gauge wires, remember smaller the gauge, the wider or the thicker the wire. So if I had a smaller gauge wire, it wouldn't go in this little hole. So just always be cognizant of, you know, your wire gauges and the holes that you need to put them in. So put my little bead on, and I try to put it in the middle, so you have the same amount of wire on each end. It doesn't have to be measured perfectly. So like I would say that that's my middle. I'll put my bead right there, like that. Then I measured 10.5 on my ring finger. I'm making this ring for my ring finger. 10.5 is the mark that I'm going to use to start my creation. And so you keep it in the middle, keep the bead in the middle, and then you put your wire down with the bead already in it on the center at my 10.5 mark, like that. Okay, 10.5, just like that. Then I just kind of take my fingers and form the wire around it. So it's just kind of going to hold that space like that. Okay, now you guys can see. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so now mind you, the wire, one side needs to be coming to the right, one side needs to be coming to the left, wrapped around the back like that. So the bead is still at the front, because remember, this is the front of your ring, this is the back of your ring. So you're just going to bring the wire back to the front like that after you wrapped around the back. And you're going to do the same thing with this other wire. Bring it on around. Now, so your wires are back to the front, back to the front. You see that? And then look at the back of this mandrel. You see how you have at least 3 wires wrapped around the back. To create a sturdy ring, you want to make sure it's wrapped at least 3 times. So 1, 2, 3, okay? You can wrap it more, but it's not necessary unless, you know, it's for your aesthetic or whatever you're creating. So just like that. And it's easier for beginners if you just go with that 3 wrap. Once you get the feel of it and you know how to maneuver, it's easier to add more layers to the back of your ring, okay? So there you go. So I always keep one wire one way and then the other wire the other way, but you want to make sure that they're in the front, okay? And then you're also being mindful of where it's at. So mine's still in between the 10 and the 11, okay? Now, this is the part where you're going to start wrapping your wire around the bead. Okay, so, excuse me. I'm gonna turn this back around so y'all can see it in a minute. I just want to make sure everything's still tight, how it needs to be. And it's something I always be mindful of. Okay, so now back in the front. Now what you want to do, remember you have that wire, both wires still in the front like this, but one is on one side, one is on the other side. Now what you're going to do is take your wire and wrap it around this bead like this, okay? See that? The wire is going around the bead. And as one side of that wire meets with the other side, can you see? You start taking that wire with it as well, okay? Now this just takes some getting used to. Your first ring probably ain't gonna look like nothing, but the more and more you do it, you'll get used to it, you'll get the feel of it, and it'll start looking more cohesive. So just keep wrapping. See how that, I bought one wire was on that side. I brought it all the way around until it met with the other wire. And then I start wrapping both of them at the same time around the bead. Just like that. Y'all see it it's coming in the form. Like Kiki say. Like this, okay? And you can wrap it however many times you want to. Now keep in mind not to pull it so tight. If you pull it too tight, what it's gonna do is propel that bead to protrude out. But you want it to have like a bevel look. It's sitting pretty, it's not being pushed out, okay? So just keep wrapping. Just like that. See that? Okay. And I want it to be have a little bit more coverage. So I'm gonna keep wrapping mine. Now remember, you can wrap however much you like. This is your ring, so you're making it for yourself. So I'm gonna just keep wrapping. And it's easy to like hold that, use your finger, middle finger, to hold and wrap. See. All right, now you see your wires are getting less and less. This is about a good time to end the wrapping. You have about 3 inches of wire left, because what you need to do at this point is end the Can y'all hear me? Oh, okay. What you want to do is in the ring at this point, and you need enough wire to do that. So this is about 3 inches. I can kind of eye it, but if you want to be sure, you can get your tape. I don't know what side I'm on, y'all. Is this the inches side? There we go. So that's about 2 to 3, okay? Then you, at this point, can take it off your mandrel, okay? And remember how the wires were one on one side, one on the other side? That's what you want to get the wires back to. So let's see how we're gonna do this. Probably should have left this one around this side. So there you go. So you have this wire on to line up. Can't see nothing, sorry. So you have this wire to line up with this side, and you have this wire to line up with this side, because what we're gonna do to end this ring is wrap these wires through this side right here to secure it and to end it, okay? So to do that, what I like to do is just kind of take my thumb and my index finger and hold this like this. And then I bring my wire through my hole like that and pull it. Okay. Right, and that secures it on that side. Don't worry about how it looks right now. Right now, we just kind of want to secure it. And then I do the same for the other side. This side right here. Got my index and my thumb on my bead and my wire. And then I just pull this side through the ring as well. See that? To make a loop around. Yeah. I'm gonna grab my needle nose pliers. I never see where this thing is. There we go. These are your needle nose pliers. They have a flat base on the inside. I'm gonna use these to pull this wire tighter, just like that, okay? See how that pulled it tighter, like how it needs to be, and flushed against this base circle part. Now, what you're going to do, since you secured both sides at this point, do the same to the other side. Pull it. Now, all you're going to do here is just continue to wrap. So I'm using my needle nose pliers to just bring that wire back through and just wrap and wrap. And that's all I'm doing. You want to at least wrap it 3 times. 3 times. Oops. See how it's building up on the side? 1, 2, 3. And I just keep doing that. Keep doing it. And this is why I also recommend using a higher gauge numbers. It's more pliable for you to be able to work with it when you're beginning. If I had a thicker gauge, I'll be struggling right now. Just continue to wrap around so I have like none left. You see that? Now the aesthetic to these, they don't have to look perfect. I kind of like mine to look like organic, messy looking. Okay. So once I really feel like it's secure on my side, see that? Then I take and cut using the inside of my needle nose pliers. I just cut that wire off. Then I take my needle nose pliers and bend it down to close it off. You want to make sure also rub your fingers, make sure it's not protruding or sticking out. If you feel anything prickly, just go back over your needle nose pliers, okay? Just bend it down like that. And so now you see how your ring is closed off? You just do the exact same thing with the other side. Use your needle nose pliers to just continue to wrap. So another thing that I sometimes like to do is like count how many times I wrapped on that side, because I forget, y'all. I keep wrapping this whole thing, so and then I have like a whole bunch of coils on this side and not the same on that side. So I didn't count. I forgot how many I wrapped, but I'm gonna eye it and just kind of make it look the same. You can do that too. You want to make sure you're pulling this tightly, okay? So looks about the same as in far as when I say the same, like it's going up the same amount on the sides. Another thing you can do is take and press this metal together and down. Press that down and together as well. And so now I'm going to cut my wire because I feel like I've wrapped it enough. It's secure and it looks like it's about the same amount of coils on the other side as well. So now I'm going to end it. Cut it off. And now I'm going to use my plier nose to just kind of melt the metal in how it needs to be. And bring it back. So when I first started making these rings, like I didn't like how they look, but the more and more I do them, the more like they get neater and neater. And that's like every time I start making them, like when I'm making a batch, the first one I'm like, oh, I don't like that. And then like By the fifth one, I'm like, all right, it's looking a little better. So don't be discouraged if your ring doesn't look how you think it should look. Just keep going. So after you close it off, your ring is basically finished, okay? Then you're gonna put it back on your mandrel, okay? See, remember I told y'all how it shrank in size? Remember it was at the 10.5, now I won't even go down to the 10. Now that's because we done did all of that bending and everything. So you put it on the mandrel, and you want to form the shape. So you take a hammer and just kind of go around it like that. And then move it back down a little bit. And see, that moved it down some to where it's at least at the 9.5. So just something to remember, give yourself an inch working room. The more you do it, the more you'll be able to work with it and eye it a little bit more. But, you know, when you're starting out, just need some working room. So you have that, and then you take it off, and then you have your ring. See, now this mandrel, I remember why I don't use this one. So if y'all can, don't get a mandrel that has this little indentation right here. I don't know why this has this. Get a mandrel that has this round all around. Cause see what it did to this ring? You see that, right? My other mandrel does not do that. So I'm gonna put it back on the round side. See, and that straighten it out. And then you just put your ring on. Hope this fits y'all. Yep, it fits. And you have a little ring made of brass elements and ammonite, and you have your symbology. You can always look at it and remember what your intention is, because remember, you created this. So does anybody have any questions? I did want to leave you guys with so just a little bit more on the creative front. Creativity is so important to me because it's not really about the outcome of the thing. What I realize that touches me so and inspires me so is the process. So in the process of creating, I always come to the realization that I can do anything I put my mind to. I just have to start. And while I'm doing it, it's just evident to me that, you know, the power to create is within me. And just to keep going. And it doesn't matter that I don't know how to do it in the beginning. It doesn't matter that I don't have all the pieces to the puzzle. None of that matters. It just matters that I start. And when I start, you know, my creativity comes to aid me. Divine light comes to aid me in the process. And I learn as I go. And then once I finish it, it's like, oh, wow, that wasn't even as hard as I thought it was going to be in the first place. Now let me go do something else. So that's why creation to me is so important, and creativity is so important, because you actualize yourself, you actualize your divinity, you actualize your ability. Everything becomes real to you. So that's why it's important to create. It's even better when you're intentional with what you're creating. Like I said, whether you realize it or not, every single moment of the day you are creating something, whether it be by your thought or your action or your routine or what you feed your body, what you feed your spirit, your soul, your mind, you're creating something. So when you're intentional, all the better. And also don't always look at, and this is me, I'm talking to myself too, just to be mindful to not always look at the outcome of the thing, but to also be mindful of what you get or what I get out of the process. So.
Nikki, that was amazing. I feel like I could really make a ring, and then I feel like my feelings would be really hurt when it don't turn out the way I wanted it to. I don't know if my Virgo-ness would allow me to appreciate the process more than the product, but I would try, girl. I would try so hard to be so for this moment and like so appreciative. I would channel all that positive energy.
Please.
A different direction. That was beautiful. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. I have a couple, well, I have a question. Then if anybody else does, feel free to jump in.
Mm-hmm.
I get I hear quite a lot, whether it's my Reiki reading or aura reading, it doesn't matter. It's typically that there is, some work to be done for me around um, that creativity piece, right? And then I think of right now when life is so uncertain and I desire to be able to push through, right? And sort of feel empowered a little bit through freeing myself to create. And so I'm curious, like when blockages come up for you as a creative, how do you muster your way through that when you know that you'll feel better on the other side of it? You know that when you're able to create something that feels like a release for you, how do you get through that blockage for yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, it's important I had to come to the realization that I can't always feel like I need to do something. So what I have learned works for me is kind of just sitting with the feeling of like, why do I feel like I need to be doing this right now? And so I kind of mapped that out. And I would ask myself, like, what would I get if I did this right now? Why do I feel like I need to do this? And once I identified that helps, because sometimes it's just me feeling like I just need to be doing something. I have the spirit of always got to be doing something. That's just me. But that's what I have learned to come to realize. And also, I don't always don't stifle your creativity. Don't always think that it has to be through a certain medium, because it doesn't have to be. I've shared this with you before, prior to jewelry, I used to do makeup. I was a makeup artist. I was a nail artist. So I thought that was my end all be all medium. But just step out there and do something creative, whether it's baking a cake, whether it's writing in your journal, whether it's playing with your children. Like, play is creativity. Just don't stifle it. Don't think it has to come through a certain medium, and just be open to, whatever form that it might want to introduce itself through you.
Anybody else have any other questions? So Keisha's giving you kudos in the chat box too, Nikki.
Oh, thank you, Keisha.
Erica, can I say something out loud?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm Ashley. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. I loved everything, but especially what you said at the end about just like letting yourself loose and being open to it and not always being concerned with the result. So I don't know if you've been here all week, but Erica has been killing it with the head wraps every single day. And I'm not a head wraps girl, but I just took my passion twist out. And my job wants to have all these video chats. And I'm like, my hair hasn't been washed in like 4 months, so it's a struggle. So I was like, you know what? Let me put on a head wrap for these white people for this, these video chats. And this is literally like the 10th time in my whole life that I've ever worn a head wrap. And so like seeing Erica every day this week, I was like, oh, my head wraps don't look like that. Oh, they don't look like that. And like you said, like everything that you do throughout the day is creating. And so I was like, you know what, Ashley? Just try it. Like, you don't know what the result is, but like, just try it. And historically, I've been uncomfortable being bad at something long enough to be good at it. And I don't know if that's an Aries trait. I don't know what it is, but I'm just like, I just want to be perfect, period. And I was like, but you need to start, Ashley. You need to try. So I just wanted to say that's why I came on here with my head wrap today. And I appreciate you, sharing that there are so many different mediums. And it's really inspired me to get back to creating. Like this whole week, shout out to you, Erica. Girl, I done bought a chakra book. I'm out here looking for herbs. I'm like, before this, like I didn't see myself as a person who was necessarily in tune with healing, just because I wasn't exposed to that as a child. And then as I became an adult, once again, I didn't want to be bad long enough to like learn and be good. And now through this week, it's just opened up so many different parts of me. And, with everything happening in the world, I'm like, let's go back to our roots. Like, let's go back to the beginning. So I'm here with all the healing because I'm like, this can't get any worse. So it's all up from here. So I'm about to have my chakras. I'm about to be making rings. I'm painting. I'm learning watercoloring. Sorry, I just had to get all this off my heart. I've been here every week, and y'all have just been so transformative. Once this is all over, I want to move to Tennessee. I don't know if you are from Tennessee. I came in a little late, but I'm in DC. I'm pretty sure there's Black people
Okay.
here. But yeah, I'm trying to be down where work hill. Like, sign me up.
Yes. I guarantee you, Nicole, who's not going to turn on her camera right now, is doing all the happy dance right now. And she just said, you're already down.
Already down.
You're already down. You're already down. That makes me so happy and so excited. And it speaks to who we are as a Women of Color Collaborative. The number one lesson that my co-conspirator has taught me is that being selfish in the best ways yields amazing results. We curated this week because it is what we needed. I was drowning. And you can ask Nicole. I've said the only thing, and Nikki was on when we were doing our prep for the day, and I've said the only thing I've looked forward to all week were these calls. Even though the 3 hours before I have the most anxiety in my entire life and everything is happening in a pit of my stomach, and I know I'm going to go through my process to get here, and I needed it, right? And we created the Women's of Color Collaborative because it was what we needed. And what we have found that is when we are selfish as Black women, everybody heals. Everybody heals. When I really center what I need, regardless of religion, regardless of what even makes sense, right? But what I feel and what I'm allowing myself to feel, I'm honoring something that's in me that is so bigger than anything I could ever name. And that vibration changes things around me, right? And so I'm just excited that it's been helpful because there was just two of us on here, we was going to kick it every night, y'all. I mean, every night. And I made a point. So today's shirt is brought to you by Target. We the people like to party. I wore this shirt. Y'all, I lived my best life in August. I don't know, but August 2019 was undefeated. Most of y'all were there somewhere along the ride. I appreciate y'all for going with me. Your girl was going through some things. But I wore this shirt on one of my favorite Saturdays because I was like, I just am enjoying being with my people. You ever just had that moment where it's like, I don't care if it was a baby shower. I don't care if it was somebody's birthday party. I was just loving seeing Black women. And it was a reminder that I like to party. I party with Chloe. That's Cole's 2-year-old. We partied in this shirt together with Beyonce. So I just brought the party to us today on Friday. And this has brought me joy. The head wraps have brought me joy. I'm glad it's been shared, Ashley. Also, girl, I don't know what I'm doing. I go in my mirror every day and be like, okay, let me figure. No, that ain't it. Okay, every single day. Every single day. That's how we do it. That's how we do it. Chloe is partying right now because that's who likes to come to the party. All right, y'all. We are about at time. I mean, I'm happy to hang out and talk. Whoever wants to hang out, we can definitely wrap. But we want to thank you, Nikki, for sharing. I mean, so much today. Not just your craft, but yourself. That was. What you don't know is Nicole and I was back here talking about how much you was killing it on this webinar. Okay, girl. It was so amazing, Nikki. Thank you for sharing yourself.
Thank you.
With us. If you want to find her in all the places, her website is listed there. You can see all of her amazing pieces. Now, do know, y'all, if you see something that you like, you need to go ahead and snatch it because I don't play with the text messages to Nikki. She will advertise and I'm like, that's real cute, but go ahead and just pull it for me, sis. It's mine. It's mine.
True.
So if you see it, grab it real quick before your girls swoop in. And like all of our amazing presenters this week, our collaborative would not be who we are. We could not do this. We would not do this if it wasn't for our amazing collaborators who give of themselves and their time and their energy. And one of the ways we are reclaiming, right, that which is ours, is making sure that we are paying each other. I mean, let's be honest, right? This world, this life that we live, there are resources that we need, and we need to pay Black women what they're worth, knowing that there's no amount of money that could ever truly embody that which we are. But if you feel moved, please feel free to sew into Nikki. She fought me tooth and nail for this, but I made an executive decision. So it's on there, even though she doesn't want it to be, because she's amazing. But it didn't matter to me. So there it is. And as always, find us at Workplay Build. All of our handles are Workplay Build, workplaybuild.org. Ashley, girl, we do virtual cohorts. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole lot of learning. Come on, just come on into the fold. Come on into the fold.